I have that much confidence in this work. Bottom line, academics come in and say, we don't know, Merchant, what you are doing. It's nice, it's elegant, but this is something that we are not very comfortable with. Next slide. Where do you draw the inspiration for these kinds of papers? And I ask this to you because I started by saying that there are stories here, lots of stories. And just because I don't know those stories doesn't mean that the stories don't exist. And this is a big challenge for our Indonesian colleagues here and Asian colleagues in general. You can draw the inspiration from the context. What is the context? What are the stories in the context, institutional context? You heard Professor Adams talk about that. What are the stories that are embedded in the institutions, the local institutions? What are the colleagues saying? Are you going to go with the masses and study one more of the same relationship using a different data set? Or are you going to take a different trend and say, I'm going to explore something new because I think this is interesting? And of course, do you have the curiosity to continue down that path? Next slide. There are 4 things that I think that we need as academics. And the easy way to remember this is to think of them in terms of the natural elements. The first thing, of course, is we need to be humble and we need to be grounded. If we don't understand the world around us, you cannot try to make sense out of it. And just because you have made some sense out of it doesn't mean that it should go to your head. If you are the first person or one of the earliest persons who have thought of this, it is very, very important to be humble. The second thing is, of course, the flexibility and the inquisitiveness to follow things. And you look at water. Water takes the shape of any container that you put it into. It's very, very flexible. You cannot live without water, but water does not have an agenda. And we need to understand that. The third thing is the inner strength to pursue what you believe needs to be pursued. And do we have it? Even if we have a rejected paper at the end of the day. Or do we want to take the easy path and say, okay, this is the flavor of the month in academic journals, let me write a paper on that, quick and easy, and let's get it over with. Are you committed to your own ideas? Do you believe in your own ideas? And the final thing, of course, is to be aware of what is going on in the academia and to be non-judgmental about it. And this is very hard to do because all of us have our opinions, all of us are smart, all of us have PhDs, and we have our biases. The trick is to have your biases, recognize that you have your bias, and then not let the bias interfere with your interpretation. And this is very hard to do as well. But here are the elements, in my view, that I think we need to go down the journey that is a path-breaking journey, to tell a story that is a story that is not a story that has been said 15 years ago with US data, but a story that is unique to the context, using a data that is embedded in the context, even if that context is unfamiliar to the larger audience. And this is something that we need to be very, very mindful of. Do you trust yourself? If the whole world is against you, if all the academics are against you, if all the major journals are against you, do you still believe in what you have done? I had a paper that came to me not too long ago, and they were missing some pieces. And what they were missing was a big theory. There was everything in the paper except the theory. So I wrote back to the author a very nice small email saying, paper is wonderful, but I need some way to understand what you are telling me. Our readers need to understand what you are saying. And the reaction was machine gun fire. Right? Bang, 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 bang. You know, how can you say this to me? I'm so well published, I have so many this, I have so many that. Instead of using that energy to write some kind of a framework to understand the findings, this fellow basically pulled out the gun and said, listen, I am the greatest thing that happened to your journal, and you can't tell me what I should include and what I should not include. You have the courage to challenge. But you have to remember that at the end of the day, we need to have some continuity. And theory provides that continuity between the past and the present and future. So, do we have the courage to challenge convention using strong theoretical foundations? And I'm not saying that these theories have to be the Western theories that are context specific, that would take time to develop, but it can be done. First thing. Second thing, if everybody says this is a garbage paper, do you have the stamina to continue? Yeah? That question only you can answer, nobody can answer. Do you have the power to continue? And the third thing, which is a problem that faces all of us who are non-native English speakers, is the language. You have great ideas, you have great execution, but where we fail is in a failed communication. In other words, you write a paper that nobody understands, and you expect that the reviewer will get into your head, figure out what you are trying to say, accept the paper, and then you can say, yes, I have a 4-star paper. That's not going to happen. So, do you trust yourself to challenge? Do you trust yourself enough to feel confident regardless of what the people say? And then, do you have the, how shall I say, the recognition that communication is really what makes a paper and what breaks a paper? Now, if I was God's greatest gift to international business, I stand in front of you and I say absolutely nothing for 15 minutes. Would it matter to you that I am God's greatest gift to international business? Anybody? It is the same with our papers. Exactly the same with our papers. You've got brilliant ideas. If you can't communicate them, you don't have a brilliant idea. And rest of it does not matter. I leave you with this quotation, which I have found very inspiring, as I've had this for many, many years now. And some of you may have seen this, some of you may have come across this, and so on. That people see things as they are and they ask why. You know, why are we getting these mixed findings? Why is there so much debate on this and that? People ask those questions all the time. But do you have the courage to ask the other question and to dream things that did not exist and ask, why don't these things exist? And if you can dream something like that, I think we have fabulous stories coming out of Asia. Fabulous stories. I come to Asia very, very frequently. And what saddens me is that most of the Asian academics are just trying to catch the last wagon on a long train of Western ideas. And as an editor, I ask myself, why are you doing this?